and welcome to episode 89 of Toke Signals TV, where we bring you the biggest in cannabis and hemp news stories every week. I am Steve Elliott, the editor at TokeSignals.com, and I'll be guiding you through the news. First, let's look at our Toke Signals Bud Pick of the Week. One of my favorite strains, and one of the favorite strains in the Pacific Northwest, is Permafrost. This is one of the iterations of that strain, a phenotype called Big Permafrost. Permafrost is a sativa dominant. I got these genetics from Secret Seeds in Seattle. As you can see, trichomes are the order of the day. Let's do the news now, shall we? A study this week showed that medical marijuana laws do not lead to increases in teen use. This new Columbia University study, published in Lancet Psychiatry, shows that teen marijuana use does not increase after the passage of medical marijuana laws. The study, led by Dr. Deborah Hayson, looked at past 30-day marijuana use among more than 1 million adolescents over a 2-year period. While rates of use were higher to begin with in medical marijuana states, rates of use did not change after these laws went into effect. This isn't the first study to find that medical marijuana laws do not have an impact on teen use, but this study is the most comprehensive and valid given the large sample size, the long study period, and adjusting results for other factors that might contribute to marijuana use, such as gender, age, and geographic location. Additionally, the study was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the infamous NIDA, which has been critical of the impact of medical marijuana laws on teen use, and which in fact is sworn to study only anti-marijuana results. Medical marijuana relieves pain and suffering for millions and does not lead to an increase in teen marijuana use, said Amanda Ryman, manager of marijuana law and policy for the Drug Policy Alliance and a professor at the University of California at Berkeley. This should end the "what about the kids" argument used by opponents who try to prevent access to marijuana for the sick and dying. Almost half of the United States allows access to medical marijuana, and a majority of Americans now support broader legalization. Colorado, Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, D.C. decisively passed legalization laws in the 2012 and 2014 elections, and other states such as California are likely to follow in the years to come. Each of these laws clearly specifies that legalization applies to adults only, contains built-in safeguards that restrict sales to minors, and funds prevention efforts. In New Jersey this week, a new poll found majority support for legalizing marijuana. A significant majority of New Jerseyans expressed support for legalizing, taxing, and regulating marijuana in this Rutgers-Eagleton poll. The poll was conducted in partnership with the Drug Policy Alliance. This poll found that 58% of New Jersey residents support legalizing, taxing, and regulating marijuana like alcohol for adults 21 and over. Those surveyed were most persuaded to support marijuana legalization and regulation as a result of New Jersey's costly marijuana laws. New Jersey wastes more than $125 million a year arresting people for marijuana possession. This absurd policy criminalizes otherwise law-abiding citizens and wastes law enforcement resources that would be better spent on serious crime and public safety issues. Support for legalization in New Jersey is growing, which mirrors national polls, said David Redlosk, director of the Eagleton Center for Public Interest Polling and professor of political science at Rutgers. By asking a question that makes clear legalization for adults 21 and over would come with taxes and regulation, we provided context that may account for some of the 9-point jump in support from our April 2014 poll, he said. Even so, no matter how the question is asked, we have seen a long-term upward trend in favor of marijuana legalization among New Jerseyans, according to Redlosk. Advocates say the polling bolsters calls for reform. More than 22,000 individuals were arrested for marijuana possession in New Jersey in 2010 at a cost of more than $125 million, according to Roseanne Scotti, New Jersey State Director of the Drug Policy Alliance. New Jerseyans believe that our current marijuana laws are unfair and wasteful, Scotti said. These laws should be changed now. Advocates emphasize that tax revenue from the sale of marijuana could generate millions of dollars to fund projects that help all New Jersey residents. Colorado, which legalized marijuana in 2012, for instance, has generated $74.5 million of tax revenue from marijuana to date. Legalizing, regulating, and taxing marijuana will generate much needed revenue for the state to fund important programs at a time when New Jersey is struggling to meet its financial obligations, said State Senator Nicholas Scutari. Legalization would also create jobs in sales, production, and related services, which will spur economic activity. The majority of people in America and in New Jersey support legalizing marijuana, and this is more evidence this is the direction we need to go in, Senator Scutari said. It's well past time that we updated our archaic drug laws nationally, but we should take the lead in New Jersey because it is the right thing to do for our residents and the responsible thing to do for our state. And what Scutari has done is put his money where his mouth is. He's introduced a bill that would legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana for adults. That bill is Senate Bill 1896 and its companion Assembly Bill 3094, sponsored by Assemblyman Reed Gussiora and Assemblywoman Linda Stender. These bills would create a system similar to Colorado's, where marijuana would be controlled and regulated like alcohol at every step of the production and sales. Reforming New Jersey's failed marijuana laws would also reduce the worst injustices of the current system. Advocates point out the appalling racial disparities in marijuana arrests. Although statistics show that people of all races use marijuana at the same rates, people of color overwhelmingly suffer the criminal consequences. In New Jersey, African Americans are arrested for marijuana possession at a rate nearly 3 times the rate of whites. And once you've been convicted of even a minor marijuana offense, you are subject to a system of legal discrimination that makes it difficult or even impossible to secure housing, employment, public assistance, federal student aid for higher education, and even a basic driver's license. New Jersey's marijuana laws are failing people of color by perpetuating injustice within our state's most vulnerable communities, said Richard Smith, president of the New Jersey State Conference of the NAACP. Legalizing, taxing, and regulating marijuana will be a step forward in reducing the disproportionate burden the criminal justice system has on people of color in New Jersey and provide new sources of revenue to invest in our communities for education, jobs, and public safety. In Oregon this week, something of a surprising announcement from the Portland police, who say that bringing marijuana in from Washington state isn't an issue. Portland police on Wednesday said that Oregonians who travel to Washington state to buy cannabis to bring it back are not an issue as long as they stay within legal limits. Beginning on July 1st, Oregonians 21 and older are allowed to possess up to an ounce of marijuana away from home and up to 8 ounces at home under the recreational cannabis legalization law approved by voters last November. Oregonians are going to Washington to shop for marijuana, and this is nothing new, reports the Oregonian. Sales data released by the Washington Liquor Control Board for May showed that one recreational 502 shop in Vancouver, just across the state line from Oregon, sold more marijuana than any other shop in Washington, thanks in part to Oregonians who account for about half of sales at that shop. But Portland police said they don't see this as a problem. We are not doing interdiction on people who are going there to buy their weed and bringing it back, Sergeant Pete Simpson said. Our Drugs and Vice Division has not and does not focus on low-level drug transfers of any kind. They are working large-scale operations, which is not what we are talking about. But the Oregon Liquor Control Commission takes a dim view of Oregonians buying weed in Washington. That agency claims it's concerned about a 2013 Justice Department memo spelling out federal law enforcement priorities on marijuana. Those include preventing black market diversion. But if marijuana is legal in both Washington and Oregon, where does the black market come in? In Delaware this week, the legislature decriminalized marijuana possession, and Governor Jack Markell is expected to sign the bill. The Delaware Senate on Thursday approved a bill 12-9 that would remove criminal penalties and potential jail time for adult possession of small amounts of marijuana. This measure was approved in the House earlier this month, and it's now headed to the desk of Governor Jack Markell, who is expected to sign it into law. In a March letter to the editor of the New York Times, Governor Markell said he is hopeful that his state will decriminalize possession of small amounts of marijuana. House Bill 39, introduced by Representative Helen Keeley in the House and sponsored by Judiciary Committee Chair Margaret Rose Henry in the Senate, would replace criminal penalties for adult marijuana possession with a civil fine similar to a traffic ticket. Under current Delaware law, possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana is a misdemeanor with a maximum punishment of a $575 fine and 3 months in jail. Laws that criminalize people for simple marijuana possession are outdated and counterproductive, Representative Keeley said. Delaware is taking an appropriate step to right-size the penalty for small quantity possession. Senate action on this bill is common sense and will remove the potential implication a criminal record can have for a person seeking employment, housing, and education, Senator Henry said. It is important to more appropriately penalize people in possession of marijuana for personal use. Now, more than 2/3 of Delaware voters, 68%, support removing criminal penalties for marijuana possession and making it a civil offense, punishable by a fine of up to $100, with no possibility of jail time. That's according to a survey conducted in March 2014 by Public Policy Polling. Only 26% were opposed. We applaud the legislature for taking action and adopting this much-needed update to the state's marijuana possession law, said Robert Capici, Deputy Director of State Policies for the Marijuana Policy Project. Marijuana, he said, is an objectively less harmful substance than alcohol, and most Americans now agree it should be treated that way. In Israel, exciting research this week as scientists eliminated 60% of myeloma cells with cannabis-based treatments. Now, as the possibilities for cannabis-based treatments continue to make headlines in the medical world, One World Cannabis, a medical cannabis research company, has announced that the initial results of its landmark study on treating multiple myeloma with cannabis-based solutions were extremely promising. After a series of tests using cannabis-based treatments, researchers were able to eradicate 60% of multiple myeloma cells. The disease is one of the most deadly hematologic cancers, and individuals diagnosed with the disease often have about a 50% survival rate. OWC Pharmaceutical Research Group on Wednesday announced that its wholly owned subsidiary, One World Cannabis Limited, an Israel-based developer of cannabinoid-based therapies targeting a variety of different indications, has received the first basic science study lab results on the effect of several combinations of cannabidiol, CBD, and tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, on multiple myeloma cells. Based on these results, One World Cannabis will submit the clinical trial protocol to the IRB Helsinki Committee. The company expects to receive Institutional Review Board approval for the study in 6 to 9 weeks. The OWC multiple myeloma study was done by 3 repetitive tests on the effect of cannabis extract with various combination ratios of THC and CBD, and also with pure THC and CBD. The results present more than 60% malignant cell death. More results of pure THC and CBD are under further analysis. Multiple myeloma cells were cultured for 48 hours with CBD and THC, all cannabis extracts, as compared to their combinations. CBD and THC 1-to-1, CBD and THC 5-to-1, and CBD and THC 1-to-5. Combination index value at less than 1, equals 1, and greater than 1 indicates synergism, additive effect, and antagonism, respectively. Each treatment was performed in triplicate in 4 independent experiments and presented as mean. The treatment of CBD in combination with THC had synergistic effect, being their cytotoxic effect is higher with each of the 3 combinations tested. CBD and THC decreased survival of multiple myeloma cells in a concentration-dependent manner. Multiple myeloma, a cancer of plasma cells in the bone marrow, accounts for 10% of all hematologic malignancies. It is the second most common hematologic cancer and represents 1% of all cancer diagnoses and 2% of all cancer deaths. If further studies prove this concept, we plan to conduct a clinical study which will explore these combinations in multiple myeloma patients, said Dr. Merav Leiba, head of Sheba's Multiple Myeloma Service and Multiple Myeloma Research Lab, who's leading the study. In addition, most multiple myeloma patients suffer from a devastating bone disease. Since cannabinoid receptors have also been found on bone cells, we hypothesize that the combination of CBD and THC may alleviate myeloma bone disease. Now, in view of the basic study results, OWC has begun the development of a formulation that includes cannabis extracts for a new delivery system in the form of a cannabis soluble tablet to treat multiple myeloma. The cannabis soluble tablet will provide physicians with the ability to control and administrate optimal dosage. We founded this company to research and develop new medical solutions from cannabis for targeted medical conditions to benefit the quality of lives of patients, said Dr. Yehuda Baruch, OWC's Director of Research and Regulatory Affairs. Those first results are exceeding our expectations, and we hope to be able to achieve the same success in the clinical phase. Only then can we assert that we are on the way to a new cannabis medicine to treat multiple myeloma cancer and save patients' lives, Dr. Baruch said. In Australia this week, there was a $33.7 million donation for medical marijuana research, inspired by a granddaughter. A pair of Australian grandparents on Friday made the biggest ever donation to medical marijuana research to investigate its use in treating childhood epilepsy and other diseases. Barry and Joy Lambert's granddaughter, Caitlin, suffers up to 1,400 seizures a day, and medicinal cannabis could save her life. Lambert said he and his wife made the $33.7 million gift after seeing Caitlin respond to cannabis treatments for her debilitating condition, Dravet syndrome. Our vision is to make Australia a world leader in researching how to realize the powerful medicinal potential of the cannabis plant, Lambert said. The experience of our granddaughter, who suffers debilitating epilepsy, has opened our eyes to the extraordinary possibility of cannabinoids treating not only her condition, but a range of chronic illnesses that often don't respond to conventional treatments. We believe this investment in the future of Australian science and medicine will provide the much-needed evidence to rapidly advance the use of medicinal cannabinoids in the treatment of childhood epilepsy and other serious illnesses, Lambert said. Now, this donation will put Australia in the lead among countries researching the medical properties of marijuana, according to University of Sydney Vice Chancellor Dr. Michael Spence. The Lambert's unprecedented gift holds the promise of achieving innovative and effective new medicines to alleviate the suffering of countless numbers of people, Dr. Spence said. It enables research across a broad range of applications, from addiction, cancer, obesity, childhood epilepsy, and chronic pain to dementia and mental health disorders, he said. Their generosity recognizes the university's commitment to cross-disciplinary research that can achieve life-changing outcomes. It is our privilege and responsibility to respond. In California this week, appalling behavior from some police raiding a medical marijuana dispensary who were caught on film eating edibles and mocking an amputee. It's apparently not enough for California police to simply raid medical marijuana dispensaries. Security camera footage from a police raid on a Santa Ana dispensary shows officers eating cannabis edibles and joking about abusing an amputee. Footage posted to YouTube from the May 27th raid at Sky High Collective shows officers disabling security cameras and video monitors in the business, but the dumb cops missed some equipment that continued to record their bad behavior inside the medical pot shop. An officer can be seen in the video consuming something from a bag and sharing it with another cop, who asks him, "What flavor?" The officers then share a laugh. Sky High workers said the officers were snacking on the store's medical marijuana edibles. The officers were sure they'd get away with their churlish behavior, unaware they hadn't located some secret cameras. The video shows store volunteer Maria James, an amputee who uses a wheelchair and is legally blind, being escorted out the back of the dispensary by officers. After James is out of the store, an officer asks a female colleague, "Did you punch that one-legged old Benita?" "I was about to kick her in the fucking nub," the female officer replies. James said she was shocked when she saw that footage. "When I saw the video, it almost made me cry," she told CBS Los Angeles. "She doesn't know what it's like to not have a leg," James said. "I still have phantom pains." James said she was struggling to understand why the female officer in the video would make fun of her disability. "You know what? I was really nice to that woman," James said. "I even complimented her on her hair." Other footage shows police officers, some of whom are wearing ski masks, knocking down the dispensary's front door and storming in with guns drawn. Officers are shown using a crowbar to disable surveillance cameras and a DVR machine. Santa Ana police claim the video is being investigated by officials. Obviously, we're concerned about what we saw in this edited video, mealy-mouthed Santa Ana Police Commander Chris Revere told KABC. Anytime we get an allegation or indication that our officers might be engaged in misconduct, we want to make sure we conduct a thorough administrative investigation, he claimed. Revere claimed the police will make the appropriate disciplinary recommendation if it's warranted. If it's warranted. Get that? Nice. Raids were conducted at Sky High and other dispensaries amid an ongoing legal battle over the city's implementation of a lottery system for awarding dispensary licenses. A Superior Court judge has issued a temporary restraining order against the city's Measure BB, which will allow some 20 dispensaries to operate legally in Santa Ana. The judge's order was in response to lawsuits filed by dispensaries that failed to win the controversial February 5th lottery. James is suing the police department over allegations of misconduct, according to Long Beach-based Matthew Pappas, an attorney representing her. Pappas edited the video and released it to the public, and several police actions in the video will be included in the lawsuit. I'd like to see the police officers disciplined for the behavior that goes on here, Pappas said. I'd like to see the city stop engaging in illegal conduct. Until next week, I hope you stay lifted. See you then.